Hello, and welcome to another episode of our Binge Chickens reviews. I'm Alex, and I have Lo with me to go through the very exciting return of Doctor Who with Revolution of the Daleks.
Yes. Yes, hello
Um,
everyone.
Hello, yes. Hopefully everyone's having a good New Year. I'm wearing my Dalek shirt as I thought I would get into the spirit of the occasion. I'll start with you, I guess, Lo, to get your general thoughts on the episode. It was the first episode of Doctor Who that we've had since March of last year, and it's sort of a direct follow up of our last New Year's Day special, where I think we had the Century Dalek, or the sort of scout Dalek that they destroyed and was getting carted off for research purposes, and then it sort of opens up into this episode. But I guess I'll get your thoughts first in general on what you thought of the episode.
I thought it was a really good one. I will be completely honest here. I do not remember last year's Christmas special at all. I think after you've seen so many of them, they all kind of blend together. So I don't know. I don't remember what actually happened. It's actually, but this Christmas special I really enjoyed. I mean, I do
New Year's
always
special,
like
yeah.
Dalek New Year's special. Yeah, sorry. I'm used to Christmas specials. They've now changed it up this year, had the New Year special, which was interesting. Interestingly, with the Christmas specials, generally they're set at Christmas or have a Christmas theme to it. But this New Year's special did not reference the fact that it was New Year's or anything at all.
I'm trying to remember if last year's one referenced New Year's as well, because this one's meant to be, it's almost set a year later, I guess, because it's what, because she's been, so I guess, kind of spoiler warning as well. We will be going through spoilers of the episode, so hopefully everyone has watched the episode before listening or watching this. But the Doctor has been in prison for 10 months, and I feel like that's almost like a real world gap of 10 months from when the series finished.
Yes, that's true. That is true. I honestly don't remember the last special. So
well, and I guess that's probably a good first question to go with. Is, do you think not remember, like, because I don't have a really strong memory of it either. Like I sort of vaguely started to remember things as we were watching. That's the start of it. Do you think that impacted on being able to follow this episode? Because I thought it sort of said that
not at all. I remembered, obviously there was an episode where they had destroyed the Dalek, because they also established that at the beginning of the episode with the opening with Ryan, I think it was, who put the thingamabob on the Dalek, causing it to the explosive to blow up, and like that's how the episode started. So I was like, okay, yeah, cool, I remember that. I didn't remember it being the special though. I think maybe because it wasn't. I mean, like, if you look at the older seasons, we recently rewatched the Peter Capaldi episode with
Yes. Was it last Christmas?
Yes, with the Santas and the dreams.
With the Santas and
and oh my god, I'm getting the actor's name as Santa.
Nick Frost.
Yes,
the very appropriately named Nick Frost. Yeah.
And that episode, like, I remember that episode because it had Santa in it. And like, that's what always, like, to me, made these Christmas specials stand out. There was always something Yuletide about it.
And I guess having these episodes, and it's also like with the David Tennant, the End of Time, which was also sort of a New Year's special. There's no real, it's hard to. I mean, I guess with that one, I remember when David Tennant was starting to regenerate, and he ran into Rose, and she was watching the fireworks. That was sort of our only real reference to New Year's that we get.
That's true. I don't know. Maybe there's just been so many Doctor Who episodes at this point in time. But no, I feel like you could have watched this as a very casual fan and not been a miss of what was happening. Like, Daleks are a well-known villain from throughout Who history. So you know that's obviously going to be an issue. So I think you don't necessarily need that background or to have even watched a special from last year to understand what's happening. Like I said, they built it up quite clearly. They had that reference at the beginning of the episode. So if you didn't watch it, you can just go, okay, this obviously happened and now we're here.
What did you think of the opening, having it as what was it, a long time ago, far, far away, which is very clearly Star Wars inspired.
Yeah,
I thought it was okay, but it was a bit interesting.
don't try and rip off Star Wars. Stick
Yeah.
to your own franchise. Come on.
But speaking of, long history of Doctor Who, lots of episodes. One thing that was really cool at the start of the episode when we saw the Doctor imprisoned on, I don't know if we got the name of the ship or the planet that she was on. We saw lots of old villains or old aliens from Doctor Who. We got the Ood, we got Angela, the Weeping Angel, which I thought was really cool. We got the Pating, and we got the Silence as well. Almost forgot
Yes.
Silence.
Yeah,
Ironically.
that was cool to have like a throwback to all like some very, very popular characters. Creatures, characters, villains. Yeah, from seasons ago. I mean, the Weeping Angels episode will always go down as one of my favorites. It was nice to have them pop back. I mean, they have popped up throughout since that initial Tenet episode. And the Pating, oh my god, everyone loves the cute Pating, how evil it is. And the
Well, I quite
Oods,
like
that's
that.
also one of my favorite episodes with Donna. Yeah.
Yeah, I quite like that they have the Pating in there. Is obviously, I mean, we'll get into a bit later the sort of the criticisms of this episode or this
Yeah.
era of Doctor Who, but the Pating obviously is a Chibnall creature from a Jodie Whittaker episode, and I don't know about you, but I quite liked having it in there, and it felt quite natural. It sort of just slots in as one of those iconic Doctor Who creatures now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a great episode. And it was a nice new alien. I think a lot of people enjoyed because it's such an obscure creature. So small, so dangerous.
And a bit like is it Stitch or Lilo? I always get them back to
Yeah,
front. I
Stitch.
think it's Stitch,
Yeah,
yeah.
like that one Stitch.
Bit reminiscent of Stitch as well.
Yes, that's
Um,
true.
but we've got other returning characters as well. I'll talk about we've got two different Jacks returning. I'll talk about the more exciting Jack secondly. I'll start with Jack Robertson, who was Chris Noth. I think played him in Jodie Whittaker's first season in the Spider episode, which I don't blame you if you've kind of eradicated it from your memory.
Yeah, I don't have anything to do with spiders, FYI audience. If there's a spider, I'm out. Television, whatever. It's
Yeah,
like we talked about with Mandalorian and that spider episode. I couldn't do it.
zone
So
out.
yes,
Yeah.
I don't remember Jack Robinson from that episode.
But I thought he was great. I mean, that episode, I thought he was quite two-dimensional. He was very cartoony, and he still was a bit in this one. But I thought he was actually really, really watchable and really enjoyable as a sort of Trump-esque villain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was a good villain. I think they were a bit heavy-handed with the whole what about the money aspect of things. I mean, they made that joke probably more than they
Yeah, a
needed
few
to.
times. Yeah,
But yeah, I think he was an interesting character to have because he's very much.
and interesting to
I
bring
think.
back. Very random.
Yeah.
He's not someone you'd think of that had to be brought back. It wasn't a
No.
fan favorite or something. Yeah.
It makes sense though. I think given the plot, and I think there's also room for us to see him again.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
probably talk at the end of the episode about what we think's coming, but he's almost set up by the end of the episode as like an evil equivalent of Harriet Jones, as like
Yes.
the recurring world leader that we get in episodes.
Well, Harriet Jones wasn't exactly good.
Well, yeah, that's true. That's actually a very fair point. But he did have some really funny lines, I thought. I really liked his line where he said, it was very deadpan, sort of just said, this is why people don't like experts, which, I guess people get a bit grumpy about politics coming into their TV shows, but I thought was very clearly a sort of commentary on Brexit, and everyone at the moment with Brexit doesn't trust experts and doesn't like experts telling them what to do. And I thought that was quite a funny line for him. And then the other one was, it was almost like a really self-aware line towards the end of the episode when he said, I was just doing what any man and any person, any human person would do, sort of almost being really self-aware of the show to say, yes, people kind of complain that it's too PC or it's too whatever, and they're sort of almost making fun of themselves with that.
Yeah. I think it's also important to point out as well that this episode was filmed prior to COVID-19 being a thing. So it's interesting. It'll be interesting to see with the new season, which I think they've started filming. You mentioned earlier that they've started filming. If they do make reference to, global pandemics and things.
It's the sort of the perfect. It's almost the perfect plot for a Doctor Who episode, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. But we had the other Jack returning as well, which was the really anticipated return of Captain Jack, who we'd sort of got a glimpse of during the season, but this was sort of his real return to form. What did you make of his return, and do you, I guess, we'll start with, what did you make of his return? We'll talk about the future possibilities later.
I love Captain Jack. I'll always welcome him back. Again, I feel like some of his lines are a bit cheesy.
He's always been cheesy.
He's always been cheesy, but cheesy in a way that it felt organic to the character. Like, Jack is a cheesy character. And I felt like this with the last episode he was in as well. It just seemed very inorganic. It was very forced. And that same thing with the Jack Robinson, with the over doing it with the money and caring about business commentary. I feel like Jack's lines are very more on the nose, like in your face cheesy, rather than Jack cheesy. I love him. I will have him back in any episode. I do appreciate him as a character.
The line to Graham, I think, we're calling him Silver Fox or something, I think probably owes more on, as you're saying, was a bit more forced. But he did have some really good
Jack there. So
but one of his lines that I really did like and did feel really naturally Jack was when he and Yaz were walking around in Osaka, and she's asking, where are you from? And he says the 50th century, and she said, are they all like you there? And he's like, no, I'm one of a kind, or I'm special, or something like that. And that felt very naturally Jack to me, where it was like, you best believe I'm, the best there is, sort of thing. That felt much more natural.
Exactly. Yeah, that conversation you said there was just some bits here and there. It was like this. It feels like you're rubbing it in our face that Jack is back in a very overt way.
And we got some great callbacks as well from Jack. I mean, there was the exchange with the Doctor where I think she says to him, have you had work done? And he says, you can talk, which is sort of a mirror of his conversation with Tennant, I think, in the Martha Jones series. We get the reference to Rose when he's explaining how he's immortal.
Yes, and how Rose is trapped in a parallel universe.
He says it so casually. It's like, geez, trigger warning.
Like, sort of thing. I did like the reaction there. They're like, okay, wait, what? Parallel universe trapped? Like, yeah, well, look, you'd rather be trapped in a parallel universe than the other alternative.
Yeah. And then I guess the biggest reference or tease at the end of the episode was from Jack referencing Gwen Cooper and her son fighting off a Dalek, and that he was going to hang around on Earth to catch up with her. So I guess I'd ask the question of you, do you think, or would you want to see another season of Torchwood perhaps? I think there's been a few rumors now floating around that, and you could even have Graham and wow, why is his name gone out of my head? Ryan. It's very telling, isn't it? Graham and Ryan could pop up on a new Torchwood season.
Potentially. I think I was very late to the Torchwood game. I liked Doctor Who, and I just didn't really get into Torchwood. I think eventually, once I actually watched it properly and binged it and actually appreciate it rather than trying to watch it week to week, I have a feeling it was on at a really odd time as well here in Australia. So it just wasn't
I think Channel 10 got it. This is for our international.
It wasn't an ABC show, which and it was on. I think it was like back when Channel 10 had like Channel 11, and it was on a weird time then. And it was just. I think
I was the same as you. I think I remember watching the first season, and there was a lot of badly CGI done monsters, which I didn't like. And then I think I caught up with season 2 later and loved season 2. And then Children of Earth I loved as well, even though I know some people don't like that. Miracle Day I wasn't as much of a fan, but I'd always be open to more Captain Jack.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, it'd be interesting to see what they could do with it. Given the time gap.
And I think, weirdly enough, I think Chibnall was actually one of the original writers with Russell T Davies on Torchwood, which it seems really weird because his Doctor Who is so different to that Torchwood, I guess.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see what they could do with it. Like whether even if it's just like a special episode, like one-off episode or something. Yeah.
So I sort of mentioned before we got Jack and Yaz in Osaka. So the plot sort of takes us from. So I guess we're sort of working our way through the episode. But Jack reunites with the Doctor. They get back to Earth and discover that the Daleks have now been produced as these drone sentinels to sort of police Britain and then potentially the world. And then of course from there we've now got the Daleks being cloned to occupy the drone. So we've got the inevitable return of the Daleks.
Yes. Can I just jump in
you?
here?
Yep.
I'm just doing some research while we're chatting. Yes, it was Tibnall who was the main writer alongside Russell T Davies for Torchwood. So interesting. I did not know that.
Yeah, very weird because I quite liked a lot of those Torchwood episodes, and it's not as apparent in these Doctor Who episodes. You don't get that same sort of. I think maybe I wonder if it's almost like with Moffat, where you just need someone to help kind of mold their stories to help them. Take a good idea and make it into a good story.
Yeah. We'll talk about that a bit more. So yes, we got up to what were we saying?
So we've got to. So I think Jack and Yaz went to Osaka to investigate the cloning facility for the Daleks, which was sort of once you always get in these Doctor Who stories, and it's a trope that's been used a few times, where you get the returning Daleks being maybe used to help humans or people, and then suddenly you realize, okay, the Daleks are kind of taking over the plan, and they've got their creatures being cloned to fill the bodies.
Yes, and the poor Leo, I think it was.
Yes.
Who was the one
much like the girl last season in similar sort of the girl last season whose name I forget was also being controlled by the Dalek in that episode. So it was a bit of a callback to that one.
Yes, exactly. And I mean, nice to see Nathan Stuart Jarrett in another role. I know him from Misfits, so I was like, but that, like just, wanting to play around with, being a scientist, I guess, trying to develop things as you would do, and then accidentally reviving the Dalek race. Not exactly great.
Yeah. One thing as well that was interesting is that because then we had the Doctor with, I think it was with both Jack Robertson and Jack Harkness and Graham and Ryan taking the TARDIS to Osaka to catch up with Yaz. Oh, sorry, no, Jack Harkness was with Yaz in Osaka already. Yes. But taking the TARDIS to get there, and for almost the first time ever, we actually get transit time in the TARDIS. It's 4 minutes to travel from London to Osaka, apparently, and that just conveniently gives the Doctor time to chat to Ryan about her experiences with the Timeless Child revelations from last season.
Yes.
Which I felt was almost the writers saying, let's have a scene where we talk to the audience and try to appeal to them, because I don't think that revelation went over so well when it went to air.
Yes.
A little bit like when Capaldi became the Doctor and we got Matt Smith talking to Jenna Coleman to say, it'll be okay, he's still me.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't even notice that while watching it, the 4 minutes to Osaka. I think I was stressing out too much about the whole Daleks being back.
So I guess it's a good point to get your opinion, because obviously this is our first episode of our podcast talking about Doctor Who. So what's your take, or what's your feel about the Timeless Child revelation, that the Doctor's sort of the founder of the Time Lords and that she's not just the Doctor, she's actually had all these previous regenerations?
I don't know. I think, I'm sorry, I'm just going to choke on something for a second. Sorry. I think there's a massive fixation with the most recent series to find out who Doctor Who is. And it's becoming less about the adventures and more about discovering who is.
Yeah.
That's a mouthful. But I'm not necessarily on board with that. Like, I like that there's that bit of mystery, and I think it doesn't help that we're currently going through and watching all classic Who, and the tone is very different to what we've got now. I mean, the world's very different to what it was back then. We're currently up to the 5th Doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Peter Davison. And there's always been this mystery around Doctor Who, but it's always been about the adventure rather than the person. They do make references to the person, they do, but like I think from Matt Smith onwards, it's been very much, you know, what drives the Doctor and who is the Doctor, and we're finding out all these things, and it's just maybe potentially becoming a lot, for want of a better word.
And I think it's interesting. I think that the fact that it was the Master that's told the Doctor who she is, I think does leave the door open to a future head writer after Chibnall saying, no, I don't really like that idea. We can twist it to say that the Master was actually lying to her, or that,
Yes.
I think there's scope to go in a number of different directions with it. So I think I don't hate the way it was addressed, but I think like you, yeah, I think having such an exposition dump to say, yeah.
We've always thought about like the Time Lords and like the Gallifreyans as like this alien species, and their like big thing as an alien species is that they can time travel, and regenerate, and then it all just like that's been the knowledge for years, and all of a sudden we find out that actually that wasn't natural to who they were. It was
This
almost
other
created.
character that they've tested,
Yeah, created based off the Doctor, and then that throws the whole like limited regenerations idea out and things like that. And I mean, which I knew that was a problem that was coming up anyway. I don't know. I thought it was an odd way to do it. I mean, we're supposed to then now feel sympathy because they're kind of taking advantage of her. And like, you know, used the fact that they could regenerate to then pass that on to all the. I don't know. I feel like I didn't think. We watched the episode and I was probably like, and then just didn't think about it more.
Well, they get to Osaka where I guess Jack and Yaz have probably faced the most danger that our heroes face in the entire episode, which is when we've got the Daleks trying to grab onto their backs and take them over. And I did wonder briefly if we were going to get sort of zombie Jack and Yaz for a bit of the episode, but they sort of deal with it.
Why we can't have anything bad happen to any of the main characters, Alex. This is Doctor Who.
And it's a good chance. I mean, Jack uses his what is it called? Is it just a sonic gun? I remember because he had the banter with the Ninth Doctor about the Ninth Doctor only having a sonic screwdriver, not a sonic weapon. But he got to show that off, which I don't think he'd used since then. But yeah, so then the Doctor catches up with them. They figure out what's going on. They realize that the ultraviolet light is what's going to be used to teleport the Daleks out to the various machines.
Yes.
And then we get to a point where, you know, we get another British Prime Minister gets killed by the Daleks, who we haven't touched on.
I loved seeing Daleks flying around London again. I was like, this is.
It felt very Russell T Davies, didn't it?
It did. And I feel like I've been totally cynical through this whole thing. I don't know. I apologize for my cynicism. I'm obviously just not on board with New Who. As I said before, it doesn't help that we've been watching classic Who, so I'm very much in that mind frame.
But we haven't really talked about the British Prime Minister as well. I thought she was an interesting character. I was a bit disappointed she was killed off as quickly as she was.
Yeah, same here.
Would have been nice to have her and Chris Noth's character have a showdown, or have her and the Doctor have a bit of a showdown, but wasn't to be. And we kind of get to a point where we're kind of like, well, they're just killing everyone in Britain, and we don't really have a solution to this. It seemed it did feel quite genuinely like, you know, how are they going to get out of this? It did feel like a very tricky situation, which was good. You want to have that tension.
I did like that because that's very, like, again, the audience knows Daleks. You know what they're capable of. We've now got these super Daleks in their fancy new black, silver, and red color scheme.
What did you think of the new design? Did you like it?
I thought it was stupid to begin with, because who on earth decides to use Dalek not technology, but just anything to do with the Daleks to create a program that you're going to spread all over England? Obviously these people haven't been paying attention to what's happened.
It always seems
the
like
Doctor Who universe.
There's a convenient amnesia. There's always a hand wave for why people don't remember the Daleks from the last time, and I'm sure we'll get that again this time. But in terms of the actual design of them, the look of them.
Yeah, no, I really liked it. I thought it was very modern and sleek, and it was nice to have that juxtaposition between like the new Daleks. The black was good, and I mean those very much in terms of the color symbolism, black and red. That black really links in with evil, and red with anger and things like that. So it was very much suitable for the angry little Daleks that we have.
Which is interesting that because we've always had sort of the blue light with the Daleks, which, like you're saying, it's almost interesting that we haven't really had red lighting with the Daleks much before.
And then I liked having that juxtaposition between like the new Daleks and the black and silver and the old ones that we all know really well, with the gold trimming and the I guess a more circular feel to them as well.
Which are almost becoming they're becoming the classic Daleks, which is depressing to say, because that was the design that was created in 2005, which I guess is 15 years ago now.
Yes. I mean, they don't look too different from the original Daleks from was it the third Doctor that first met the Daleks? No.
The first Doctor had the original Daleks, but in terms of the color scheme and stuff, it was the third Doctor. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not too different. Like, I mean, obviously, technology's changed, so that impacts it. But yeah, no, I think they are the traditional Daleks. I did find it super interesting that the way the Doctor then, okay, the only way we're going to be able to fix this is if we call in more Daleks.
It's sort of like, when you got like rats scurrying around, so we'll bring in the cats to deal with the rats, and then say, okay, now what do we do to deal with the cats? I was like, okay, we're going to kind of escalate with that, how they're going to deal with it.
Yes, which made me sit there and go, this is great, because obviously the new Daleks sorry, not the new Daleks, the OG Daleks are actually doing what the Doctor wanted them to do and wiping out the mutated new Daleks. But part of me was thinking either, well, what happens, once they've killed all the Daleks, will they just leave? Probably not. On the other hand, what if the new Daleks, I might have preferred to see this, what if the new Daleks and the older Daleks teamed up?
Yeah.
And it all just
And that brings me to, I guess, and you were sort of saying before, issues with the writing in New Who. I thought the biggest reminder of that in this episode, and it's sort of, you can almost spot one example of it in each episode, is the really heavy-handed messaging, where instead of, it's the old English adage of show, don't tell, and this era of Doctor Who really likes to tell. And we got that example here where, so the Doctor's plan is we bring in the original Daleks to eliminate these mutated Daleks because they don't like mutations. And the Doctor then says, it's ironic that this creature born out of a mutation is so focused on purity. And it's kind of like, yes, that is indeed the whole point of the Daleks as a creature. It's the whole commentary on Nazis being for purity, but Hitler being impure. It's the whole that is, it's like gold star for Chris Chibnall. Yes, you have indeed identified the whole irony and the whole messaging behind the Daleks. But
not everyone, you got to think that there will be people who are only casual viewers who will not be aware of that.
Sure, yes. But at the same time, I don't think you need to necessarily explicitly spell it. It's like the what was the episode with the plastic or something, where they're then saying something about the plastic is bad, we can't pollute the earth or something. And it's like, that is indeed the message.
That was a very heavy and like, okay, so I get what you're saying. I do find with last season particularly there was lots of, here's a message, and rather than it coming through again compared to Classic Who, which also had those commentary on things that were happening at the time, and it was very much in there, but not in your face. This past season, with they're exploring modern issues in the Doctor Who way, they're also being like, yeah, as you said with the plastic episode, plastic is bad. We need to look after the environment. Like, we got that from the episode. We didn't need the speech from the Doctor being like, you know, save the universe, stop using plastic.
And I think was it
blah,
also
blah, blah.
the
I'm all for
orphan planet?
sustainability. Like, you know me, I'm all for sustainability. It doesn't need to be. Maybe it does for some people, spelled out like that. But I just feel like then that takes away from
It dumbs it down
what
though.
Who is for. Exactly, it dumbs it down. But like Doctor Who has always been a show where you're looking at the possibilities of space and time and this other world, and then by making it so overtly clear they're talking about issues that we currently have, that escapism's lost.
Yeah.
And like really, we watch television, we read books, you know, we create our own content, things like that, to escape what's happening in our day.
Yeah, and I think there's a place for that messaging, because I think, like you're saying,
Yes.
Classic Who had it as well, and it works really well where it's subtle, so it makes you, it gives you, you know, you'll watch the content and realize that there's you form your own views, or you form your own ideas based on the messages in the episode, where it, you know, the episode sort of leads you to the right conclusion. It doesn't tell you what that conclusion is.
Yes. I feel like it's been very in your face, but I don't agree with you in terms of the Doctor pointing out that the Daleks were originally a mutation, because I know, but you're like a old school diehard Doctor Who
I don't
fan.
think, I do take your point that people don't necessarily know.
I do think she's commenting on like on that world rather than commenting on what's happening in our world.
And I think it wouldn't have bothered me as much if we hadn't had so much of it last season. I'll just say,
yeah.
I think that's why it sort of leapt out at me.
Yes, but as I said, for more, and particularly with these new, like these Christmas specials, but there are people who won't watch. Sorry, this is now a New Year special. Who don't watch Doctor Who regularly, who will watch the Christmas specials, all these New Year's Eve day, whatever it was, special.
New Year's Day, yeah.
So I guess they kind of need to maybe add in little things like that for those people who only tune in once a year.
Fair enough.
Yes.
Yeah. So I guess we kind of fast forward to the concluding act of the episode, which is then deciding how they're going to solve the problem of the OG Daleks that have come in to help them clean up the mess.
Yes, I enjoyed how they did this. They like this was a really.
In terms of the Doctor using the TARDIS.
Yes.
Yeah, really enjoyed that. The bit I didn't as much enjoy was the blowing up of the Dalek ship, where I just felt there was no sort of suspense. They just sort of teleported onto the ship, planted the bombs, teleported off the ship, and it was like no real drama. You know, we have Ryan and Graham both leaving the show. There was no sense that maybe one of them was going to die. They just swooped in, did it, swooped out. We didn't even get, I saw someone make the comment, we didn't even get Jack getting exterminated and coming back to life. I did like his comment of, you never forget your first death, which is why he has a grudge against the Daleks. I did enjoy that,
yes.
But it just didn't feel like much tension on the ship.
I did enjoy when he said that, because then as soon as he said it, I had that flashback to the first time seeing Jack get killed, and I was like, yes, that was good times indeed. I do enjoy Jack as a character. Sorry, I'm just thinking back when he was basically a companion. There were some funny episodes.
But yes, then so the solution with the TARDIS did work really well. I thought. I thought for a while, because we'd had these.
Sorry, I was going to say, we didn't actually talk about at the beginning the fact that Yaz had been spending that 10 months that the Doctor was in prison in this second TARDIS that was left behind by Joe Martin.
I thought, was it Joe? Oh, yeah, maybe, yeah.
Was it Joe Martin? Yeah, it was her. She had the TARDIS, didn't she?
Yeah, but was this the TARDIS? I don't know. Was this the TARDIS that they just grabbed from Gallifrey? I can't quite. I don't think it was Joe's, but yeah, I could be wrong.
Obviously, we haven't rewatched the last season before watching this New Year's special, and March was a long time ago, given the year that we've had.
It's been a long year.
This is the year that has felt like it was 600 months long, rather than the 2 people 12. So March seems like a very, very, very long time ago.
But yeah, so there was the second TARDIS. Yes, I was going to sort of
so
do a
Yaz
wrap up.
spending a lot of time there.
Yeah.
And it was interesting that they kind of had that, like, Yaz is in the second TARDIS, and you can go, okay, yeah, this is the second TARDIS. I remember this from last season. And I didn't really mention it again. So when she did come up in the TARDIS using the what's the technology used to
Chameleon circuit.
Yes, the chameleon circuit, to make it look like her TARDIS and trap the Daleks was actually really smart. And I was like, that's not. I wouldn't have predicted that's how she would have gotten rid of the Daleks.
Yeah. And I don't know if it was an intentional fake out, but I know there was a lot of rumors over the off season that they were going to do away with the police box exterior because of all the Black Lives Matter and police sort of edginess. And so there was almost maybe an unintentional fake out where I was sort of sitting there going, oh, geez, is she going to actually self-destruct her own TARDIS and go off in this new one? Which I kind of liked as the double fake out that then it was actually the new TARDIS that she was using. And I thought the shot of all the Daleks going into the TARDIS was really, really cool. I thought that was done really well.
Yeah, I agree. I did think it was a waste of a TARDIS, though. I was like, you're just going to put it into the void? Okay.
Yeah, so it's so lucky that she's never had this problem before now, and it just so happens that now that she has a spare TARDIS, it's actually the perfect solution. Yeah,
exactly. What happens if her TARDIS breaks and she needs a spare part? Oops, she doesn't have another TARDIS anymore.
Exactly.
Sorry, it's also a throwback to Classic Who, where we've just had a whole season of the TARDIS not working with
Tom Baker trying to repair the chameleon circuit, you mean?
I was like, was it Tom Baker or I'm trying to repair it and just nothing working. So I thought it was a tidy end to that problem, and it was enjoyable. Like, I enjoyed that. I overall enjoyed the episode. I enjoyed having the Daleks back. I enjoyed Jack Robinson trying to buddy up with the Daleks and then completely denying it when he gets caught.
I was a double agent the whole time. Yeah. And that's what I was sort of like. He was such a cliche character, but it worked. Like it was just self-aware enough that I actually quite enjoyed it.
Yeah. And the return of Captain Jack. Yeah, it was good. Like, I really enjoyed the episode overall.
Yeah, and so then that sort of brings us to, it was sort of the, I guess the resolution, so to speak, of the episode was Graham and Ryan deciding to stay behind and not travel with the Doctor anymore. So we got them staying back on Earth. We got Captain Jack staying back on Earth with Gwen. We got Jack Robertson sort of potentially stepping up as president of America or president of the Earth. We don't really know how.
I reckon he'll be back given how they did that.
So how did you see that sort of ending with, well, first of all, Ryan and Graham leaving the TARDIS and sort of leaving the Doctor with Yaz?
I think, as I said to you when we watched this, I felt no emotions with them leaving. I was like, okay, they're going. It's the end of another episode. Bye. I
think Graham's been a good character. I think Ryan hasn't really, like, if I sort of think of what was my favorite thing about Graham, I think he always had those sorts of funny little sayings or quirks that would sort of make Ryan roll his eyes or groan. But when I think, what did Ryan bring to it, I just can't really think of anything specific that he added that the other characters didn't.
Yeah, no, I liked Ryan as well. I think they were good as, like, they balanced off as characters. There was a good balance between the three of them, which I think wouldn't have been there if, say, Ryan wasn't there. I think it's good that him and Graham went together. I think it'd be weird if one of them stayed and the other one didn't.
It's a bit like Amy and Rory, right? Though I guess Amy traveled for a bit on her own, but they are very much a pair, Graham and Ryan.
Yes. And now we've got. I do wonder. Like, I know that most seasons there's more than there's like the main companion and there's like some add-ons. I do question if we're ever going to get a season with just like one companion again. Because it seems to be very much like since Rory and Amy. It's always been, I mean, like with Rose and
Well, I guess we got Clara. I'm trying to think. I guess I'm thinking Matt Smith with Clara was
yeah,
based
that
maybe the
was
last time we had a single companion.
yes, because like even I was thinking like even with Rose and oh my god, 9 and 10.
So we had Rose with 9 and 10, and then we had
But then she also she had
Martha.
Mickey who came along for some adventures, and then you
And
had
Jack.
Captain Jack who joined them for some, and that was good because they weren't there all the time, but you know that they were like going to be there. And then you know, yeah, Martha, which I think was mainly just Martha and the Doctor, and Donna. Yeah, so I think it was interesting. Like Amy and Rory, like really, they were a pair, and it was always those two.
So Clara was. I mean, because I guess we got Bill, but even with Bill, we had Nardole, who
I totally forgot about the Bill season. I honestly, that season has just been wiped from my memory. Yeah.
but because we've got essentially, because the way it sort of ends the episode with just the Doctor and Yaz, and there was a lot of talk about it just being the Doctor and Yaz next season, which would be the first time we've ever just had a female-led cast.
Which I feel like that would be really
could be an interesting dynamic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to think of times that we've had just two male characters in the TARDIS, and I think, funnily enough, from where we've just been watching, I think. Just after Romana left and it was just the Doctor and Adric would have been the last time it was just, unless I'm forgetting, there might have been a little bit with the fifth Doctor past where you and I are up to, where there's just a male companion. But I think it could be the fourth Doctor and Adric was the last time we had two male leads.
Yes.
Ever since then, it's really been male and female. So to have two female could have been quite interesting.
Yeah, I think it would have been interesting as well. Do I think Graham and Ryan will be missed? Not really. But oh, that's so awful. No, like I like them as characters. I just, from my personal viewpoint, and like this is what we're talking about here, I just was never that invested as these three as companions.
Yeah.
I feel like we knew a bit about them. Like we got some episodes very early on where we like that first episode we found out a lot about Ryan and subsequently Graham, being his step-grandfather.
Yeah.
And then we have that episode that focuses on Yaz and, you know, why she ended up being a police officer and things like that.
The Fear Within or something, I think.
Yeah. I don't know what the episode is called. I had looked it up
but
yesterday.
we had the flashbacks
episode, but other than that, like I don't know, I just feel very disjointed with these companions. We do go back and touch on Yaz's family and things like that, but like again, looking back at older seasons, not Clara, I feel like a little bit about Clara. I mean, we knew she was a teacher, but even less so with her. Like Amy and Rory, we knew a lot about. Definitely with Martha, you had her background. Even with Classic Who, like we're watching, as you said, the fifth Doctor at the moment, and like with Nissa and Tegan, like I feel like I know them as characters. They're not just add-ons as part of the adventure who are there to just get a job done.
Yeah.
Which I feel like that's how I feel about these companions. I don't know. So like it's great that Ryan and Graham, I think it was nice that they decided on their own terms that this is it, we're going, and they went off together. And yeah, as you said, hopefully we see them maybe popping up with, if they do an episode of Torchwood, or they can come back and guest star on an episode. They're not trapped in a parallel universe.
Like Martha popped up in Torchwood for a little bit.
Exactly.
We can have companions crossover. But speaking of companions, maybe that's a good point to bring in, I guess, the post-credit scene or the add-on scene that we got with introducing John Bishop as the new companion, being Dan. And I kept looking at him being like, he looks really familiar. Like I know he's a comedian, so I've probably seen him in shows. And I realized I know him from Skins. He was the father of the twin girls in season 3 and 4 of Skins. And I thought his character was really, really funny in Skins. So I think if he has that similar sort of charisma, because I think that's what was missing with Graham, Ryan, and even Yaz to an extent, is they feel very flat as characters. Whereas you think of like Donna or even Rose, they're very spunky and they've got a lot of attitude. And I think you need that sort of, and even you look at like Tegan, we're talking about classic Who, Tegan, Adric, they've got that bite.
She just
and like
sounds so Australian.
But so I think if he sort of, and we got in his promo scene, his mate reading his horoscope saying, there'll be a lot of travel in your future. The color blue will be important. The letter D will be important. Seeing things like that, and it's obviously just teasing that he's about to go off and meet the Doctor. But he's not as old as Graham, so he's not like the grandfather coming along for the ride. He's more like I guess he's maybe his 40s or 50s. So he's sort of like that spunky older guy who adds a bit of intrigue, maybe a bit rough around the edges. I think he looks like he's an engineer or something. Could be a really interesting character.
Yeah.
We don't get many male companions.
No, exactly. So it'll be nice. I mean, we just lost to Alex.
Well, sorry. I guess I mean when I say male companion, I guess I mean like singular, like you have your Donna or you have your Clara as like the focus, whereas yes, Graham and Ryan are like a pair, but that kind of almost diluted them a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe
I think because he'll be new as well, hopefully. I mean, Yaz and Ryan and Graham, they all already knew each other.
And they joined at the same time.
It wasn't like they were trying to work out that dynamic as well between the companions, which I think then also gets us an insight into who they are as characters more. As they try to work out, like, life in the TARDIS. I think it'll be interesting. I feel like we did not get much in that little teaser trailer about who he is, what he is, what type of character he'll be. So I guess we'll wait and see.
Yeah, and I think that's right. Like, they probably haven't even maybe haven't figured out quite what they want the character to be yet. But I think that's a good point, that we've kind of got the Doctor and Yaz are now established. We can now get more focus on who this new character is, and maybe that will help flesh him out a bit more. Whereas with Yaz, Ryan, and Graham, it was like, oh my God, we've got to focus. We've got to establish these three characters all at once, and it made it feel very sort of jumbled, because we were getting all three characters being introduced. Whereas now it's like, cool, we just got this one new character, a bit more interesting. We can kind of pick and choose how we want to introduce him and what's going to happen. Yeah. So it'd be interesting. So I guess just before we wrap up then, do you have any, so I guess we know we're getting an 8-episode season coming hopefully later this year, depending on how production goes with COVID over in the UK, kind of going a bit crazy at the moment. Do you have any, so I guess, any thoughts for the season, I guess, in the sense of, do we think it could be Jodie Whittaker's last season? I think she's sort of said she might want to stay on, but they normally only do 3 seasons. Do you think she'll stay on beyond this season? And any general thoughts or hopes for this season? It's hard, I know, because Doctor Who's much more of a, it's not like a, I hope this happens or that happens, because it's much more individual adventures. But yeah,
exactly. I don't know. I like the callback to the classic aliens, but also like to see some new ones that maybe could be fleshed out more, and could become a new Dalek type character that ends up
we'll have the Patin come back, having
longevity in the series. An ongoing threat. That's the word I was looking for. Wow. I would just wish they do some lighter, like, and by lighter I don't mean actually like lighter storylines where it's all fun, and I mean those would be great. Some like the Pating episode was great, because it was so just in itself, and everything was solved in that one episode, and you had this ridiculous creature and everyone was like, what the hell is that, and having fun with it, as well as it being a serious threat. But I also mean like lighter in terms of the filming. I find with the modern seasons of Who, they're all just very like literally dark. which
The
is such a
TARDIS and everything,
stupid.
very dark.
It's such a stupid complaint. Like when I was saying this to you after watching the episode, I find it
No,
very I don't
I
know, like
think I
it's
think
just everything takes place in like the dark,
moody, dark, and
like the moody dark ship, and you don't know what's going to come around the corner because we're in like some really ill lit, and it's all those very dark blues and dark greens, and there's just no like it's so sci-fi, which I know that's the whole point of the show, but just like some things happening maybe in some more like real life locations, because that's what I've been enjoying with Classic Who. And they have those episodes that happen in the castle in the middle of England, and they're still dark,
well,
and there's still that ominous like
it's like we've
presence
just
in that
we've just
character
watched
in the episode. But
we just watched
yeah.
Black Orchid, which was the
Mm-hmm.
two-part with the at the manor, and that was in the light, and that was really still ominous and terrifying and creepy.
Yeah, a bit silly as well. With the fancy dress costumes. But yeah, that Harley Quinn costume, I'll never erase that from my mind. I don't know. I think obviously, yes, Doctor Who is a sci-fi show about an alien, and a lot of our storylines take place in in space and on alien spaceships and on things like that. But I just feel like they need a bit more of a mix. Then again, like that plastic episode, it happened, like a lot of it happened on the beach. So maybe I'm just picking on things that aren't necessarily need to be picked on. Because then even like the Tennant episodes were also quite dark. Like if you think about those, a lot of
Yeah,
them happened. But like a lot of them, I think I want our things to come back to more things happening on Earth rather than happening in space, and having that kind of, I guess, mix of things. But as I said to you as well, with Classic Who, like they went to alien planets that basically were built on Earth. Like
yeah, but I think,
yeah,
and I take your point. Like, I think it's the sort of the cinematography of these recent seasons have felt just different, and I don't know
it's
if
just
that's just
heavy. It's
because,
heavy
yeah, yeah,
in
and
a lighting, coloring way. I read into it too much. I really do.
no,
Um,
because I agree that, and I think for me the biggest thing is the TARDIS and the way the TARDIS looks and feels, and it just feels
it's
very
been
dark
so
and moody.
dark for so many seasons.
Mm.
Um,
Even back to the Capaldi, even the last few seasons of Matt Smith. I mean, that first design for the TARDIS with Matt Smith with Amy looked really nice, and that was bright
mhm.
and glass and interesting. But I agree that when you look at, for instance, you look at Joe Martin's TARDIS, which is very white and very
I liked
classic,
that.
and that was brilliant, and that was great, and that's sort of, and I mean, my favorite episode of this Jodie Whittaker run has probably been that Fugitive of the Jadoon episode with Joe
Mm.
Martin, where it was like, this felt like a great Doctor Who story where you've got the twist, and it was like the Doctor not knowing
And
that
it
she's
happened
the
on
Doctor.
Earth with the
Yeah,
Jadoon invading this small town in England. Mate,
it was
catch Australia film episode.
yeah, it felt like a combination of the first Matt Smith episode. So you got the little sleepy town,
Yeah.
combined with human nature, where you've got the Doctor not knowing that she's the Doctor, she thinks she's human, mixed with, you got two Doctors in the same episode, so you got the whole trying to figure out who's which and all that sort of thing. So I mean that's one specific example, but you can, and look, and we were talking before, we like the Pating episode that was on a spaceship, so it doesn't have to be on Earth, but I think it's just to do with
Yeah.
the nature of the plot, and
Because
just
yeah,
trying to not
thinking
have so many layers in it, and just have like, okay,
mm,
cool premise, Doctor hidden on Earth, not knowing she's the Doctor, and we have another Doctor bump into her, and then
yeah.
just go, and that was
I mean,
the premise.
you mentioned Matt Smith before. I feel like that's probably the last season where I was with him and him and Amy and Rory, sorry. Where like you got that light and shades in the episodes. Like some of the episodes are funny, some of them are dark. I feel like they're just becoming, I know, like color wise heavy and like lighting heavy, but also like, yeah, as you said, very overhanded with the messaging and, this very introspective look at the Doctor and who is the Doctor and all this stuff. It's just becoming maybe just too much. I don't know. I think I think what we're doing, like at this point in time, continue, like we're currently, as of watching Who from the beginning, So I think if we can do that and get through maybe 2 Modern Who and rewatching, this
I was thinking that as well.
recent season things, I might change my mind. But I guess because we have been watching classic Who like I not necessarily grew up with it. I mean, I was not not old, not that old, I'm not as old as Doctor Who. I haven't been around that long, but my grandfather used to watch it, and I used to watch it with him as a kid. Sorry if I've offended people who are the same age as Doctor Who. I'm just very aware of my age at the moment. But just going from classic Who to then the Jodie Whittaker episodes, it's really just jarring. And it's, yeah, that's like I grew up with classic Who, watching that with my grandfather as a kid, and then as a teenager getting Eccleston and Tennant and that whole world opening up again. So I don't know. I feel like maybe I need to do a rewatch, and I might be able to understand it better.
I think, and I don't want to launch off the deep end here. We're coming up to an hour, so we will wrap up in a second, I promise. I don't want to jump off the deep end here. I think one of the big problems these days is that all these properties have been around for so long that the people that grew up with it as fans are now creating it, but which is in a way it's a really good thing. Like you see, with David Tennant being the Doctor who grew up on Doctor Who, was able to really get it and appreciate it. But then I think there's also the fact that you've got these people that grew up with it who are now adults and still watching the content, who have expectations or memories of how it felt to watch the content as a kid, watching the new stuff and saying, I don't feel the same way, therefore it's bad. Or, to put another way, I don't enjoy the episodes as much as I did because of X, Y, and Z. And which I guess we're doing as well, which I think in one sense is valid, because we can look at it and say, well, I think the quality is not there that used to be there. But also it's really hard to sometimes say how much do you evolve a thing, or how much do you kind of echo what it used to be.
Yeah, I think I need a rewatch to help clarify probably some ideas, particularly because there has been the gaps between seasons have become longer and longer. So that also, I think, is perception.
And I think, that's yeah.
I know plenty of people, like teenagers, who love Doctor Who and they love the new seasons. I've had many conversations about things with, you get teens who really like the modern season. So maybe it is that I'm just getting old and now starting to live in the past. Oh my God.
I think it's a really good point that you make around. I think one of the key things for me with Doctor Who at the moment is, it feels to me, I could be completely wrong on this, but it feels to me that they're trying to use as little money as possible to make the show, in the sense that instead of saying, okay, we're going to have a season every year, they're saying, okay, we'll have a season every 18 months. They're reducing the episode count. We used to get 13 episodes, then it was down to 10. Now it's going to be down to 8. Saying, okay, we'll do less episodes, less frequently, either A, because they're trying to use less money, B, because they're running out of ideas, which to me just, we got that recently when, I think a few years ago, Chibnall said, well, we're not going to do Christmas specials anymore because we've used all the Christmas ideas. There are no Christmas ideas left in the world for us to use for Doctor Who, which I just thought was utterly ridiculous. You're a creative writer and you're telling me that you can't think of any new ideas. We've had 11 Christmas specials. That's it. There's 11 ideas for Christmas and we're done. We've used them all.
There's only so many times you talk about Santa.
Yeah, that is true. But you get, like, for instance, the Husbands of River Song was really minimally related to Christmas. There was a Christmas tree at the start, and there was, I think it was a really not Christmas at all, and that was fine. We got, Lions, the Witch and the Wardrobe, which isn't a Christmas story, and it just, they used a Narnia story as a theme and then had it surrounding Christmas. Like, they had really tangential uses of Christmas, and that was still fine. Like, I get worried when you get writers basically saying we're out of ideas, and it's like, well, maybe you need other writers then. Maybe we need to find other people who want to do it. And I guess that's what I was sort of trying to say before, is I'm worried that there's people that don't want to do it because they get all this backlash from fans and they don't want to be the ones who get
like
abused
us, who spend an hour rather than just reviewing the episode, talking about what we find.
It's hard to review just the episode and not go into the whole thing. But yes,
I think this is our first Doctor Who review, so yes, I guess it does mean that we have to debrief, and we have been watching a lot of Who, so this is our opportunity to talk about it. Anyway, We probably should wrap this up because we are
Yes.
just
We will wrap things up.
we're just slagging the show now.
Yes. So I think what we're going to try and do maybe with Doctor Who is when the show comes back, we'll review the new Who. I don't think we've really decided yet whether we want to do reviews of classic Who as well.
Yeah,
Could be fun to do reviews of seasons instead of episodes.
Let us know if you're interested in hearing us about some classic Who, suggest some episodes. We're working through it, as you said, at the moment. I'm happy to go back and watch some episodes I've already watched and review. So please let us know if you do want us to review some classic Who.
Absolutely. So, yeah.
That's another whole classic, another whole ride with all the graphics and things. It's great.
There's a lot of what was it? The Time Warrior, Time Monster. Time Monster was probably your favorite Joe Grant crazy master episode. So yeah, there's lots of fun episodes in Classic Who. We would be more than happy to go back and review and give our thoughts on some classic stories. So yeah, like the video, comment below, respond to our tweet wherever you want to do it, on any thoughts, feedback for this episode, any ideas on future episodes you'd like to see us reviewing from Doctor Who. Otherwise, we'll probably be back for the new season of Doctor Who when it debuts later this year. But until then, or until next time, thank you for joining me, Lo.
Thanks for hosting, Al.
No problem. And thank you, everyone, for listening in. Until next time.